Okay, hi there. It's Sandra Smith again, and once more I'm going to be reading from my book, Seed Saver's Treasure. And I left off last time at the end of chapter 2. So this is chapter 3, and the title is Anna. Claire told Lily and Dante about the men from Grimm who had visited their apartment and about being followed in the alley. She shared what she had learned from her limited monitor search. She said she thought she was being followed whenever she went out. "Aren't you afraid, Claire?" Lily asked. "Sort of, but I don't think they'll hurt me. My biggest worry is if they put Mama in jail." Dante's eyes opened wide. "I don't see how they can," she added hurriedly. "Mama doesn't know anything, and the Seeds are never in the apartment. They couldn't arrest her." "So," Lily prodded, still curious, "how do the Seeds make food? And what kind of food is it?" "Yeah," Dante asked, licking his lips. "Is it sweeties?" "I'm not sure," Claire said, furrowing her brow. "I'm pretty sure it's not protein. It could be sweeties. It sounded more like Vites. My friend said food is different now than before. She said food used to have a lot of names." "Like how?" asked Lily. "Yeah, like how?" repeated Dante. "Well, like now we have protein, sweeties, Vites, carbos, and snacks. They had things called fruit and vegetables and meat and, I don't remember. It's hard to remember all of the new words. She promised to teach me more and let me write it down. It sounded really interesting. The food in those groups all have individual names too, and came in different sizes and colors and shapes." "Shapes? What other shapes for food could there be besides square and round?" "I don't know. I don't really get it. I tried to find out more about it on the monitor, but that information is blocked." A secretive look spread across Lily's face. "When will you see her again?" she whispered. "Soon," Claire whispered back. "I've been dying to, but with Grimm on my tail, I've been waiting." Lily and Dante nodded. Dante placed his fist with the thumb up on the table in front of them. The two girls latched on. On Sunday, Claire and Dante walked 7 blocks to St. Vincent Catholic Church. They hurried down a side aisle, stopping 4 rows from the front. Claire prodded Dante toward the center of the long bench. Several minutes later, an elderly woman made her way into the pew, sliding in next to Claire. As the congregation sang, the song flowing up around Claire seemed to her a beautiful painting, and the individual voices were strokes of color making up the whole. She felt safe and at ease in church. Dante squirmed through the long service. "Why do you like church?" he asked as they walked home afterward. "I like feeling close with God." "I don't feel close with God in church." "You will someday. I think it's boring." Claire glanced around. There was no one close enough to hear. "I first heard about seeds in church." Dante perked up. "You did?" "Yes," she answered. "The Bible talks about seeds. Father preached a sermon one day about a man sowing seeds. I didn't understand it, but I noticed the old people were nodding their heads. Their eyes were kind of watery, like they were about to cry." She turned and looked at Dante. "Did you see the woman who came in after us?" "Yeah, she always sits there." "Yes, she does. Her name is Anna." "You know her name?" "Be quiet. I'm trying to tell you something. After the seed sermon, I asked the woman, Anna, about it. She smiled and explained a little about seeds. She asked if I wanted to meet later and learn more. We've met a couple of times since then in different places." Claire grabbed his arm and stopped walking. She looked him full in the face. "Dante, she is my friend. Do you understand?" His eyes showed confusion, but then the light of understanding flashed on. He nodded. "You can't tell anybody, not even Mama, and especially not strangers. Now keep walking. Someone might be watching." Once home, Claire took Dante into her room. "Let me show you something." She opened her prayer book, and there, among the thin pages, was another small packet. A high-pitched squeak slipped out of Dante's mouth like air out of a balloon. "How? When? In church, she said, during greetings, right into my hand. He smiled broadly. You are so smart. And his sister added, I slipped a letter into Anna's Bible. I requested a meeting so I could ask more questions. Can I come? Of course. You, me, and Lily are now signed up for after-school tutoring at St. Vincent's. Chapter 4. Lesson at St. Vincent's. It surprised Clare that Grimm still followed her around. They had nothing on her. She wasn't even sure why they had tailed her in the first place. How could they have known about the seeds? She expected they would soon close their case and the shadows would disappear. Until then, she, Lily, and Dante were making a game out of it. They spent many afternoons leading the man, whose veiled attempts to blend in failed miserably, on wild goose chases. Just a minute. I've got to get the ding out of there. All right. Let's see. On wild goose chases. It was particularly fun if he was on a bike. They would pedal fast and go places meant only for children, ending with the grim agent panting for breath or covered in mud and swearing. Most of the time, though, the kids carried on as usual, staying at each other's homes, riding around on their bikes, watching the monitor. They attended school, church, and after-school tutoring, but Clare didn't let her guard down. There was no way she was going to get anybody in trouble. On Tuesday afternoon, the children rode their bikes to church. It had taken a lot of convincing Mama to let Dante ride that distance, but Clare's insistence and promises to keep him close won her over. Mama was pleased with the kids' eagerness to attend free tutoring. Once inside, Clare spotted Anna right away. She hurried to a table near the back of the large room. Lily and Dante followed. Hi, Anna, Clare called. Well, hello, dear, the woman answered. This must be Lily and Dante, she said, smiling at the children. Clare made introductions, and they sat down at the round table. She wasn't sure what to expect. She had told the others that Anna would explain how seeds became food. What she had read on the monitor had increased her curiosity more than ever, but additional searches had yielded little. She was hoping today would be the day all her questions were answered. In her fantasy, they would arrive to find a table stacked high with old and dusty books, books with pictures and stories that would solve the mystery to which she'd been given only crumbs like the pigeons in the courtyard outside. One lonely book sat atop the table. Clare's heart sank. So, Clare said slowly, what will we be learning today? Anna smiled. Today you'll learn about plants. Plants, Dante cried. I already know about plants. Oh, do you, Mr. Dante? Tell me what you know about plants. Well, he said, hesitantly thinking, plants are green and they usually grow outside, but Mama used to have an inside plant. It died. Very good. Can you name the parts of a plant? The two girls sat quietly, their faces betraying their eagerness to answer should Dante fail. Leaves? Yes. And roots? Anna clapped her hands. Very good, Dante. Lily raised her hand. Yes, Lily? Is that one part called the stem? It sure is, Anna said. Clare interrupted. Why are we talking about plants? I know this is after-school tutoring, but I thought... She stopped talking. Yes? She lowered her voice to a whisper. I thought you were going to teach us about the seeds. Anna smiled. Yes, she said. I surely am. Clare was confused. Not only had the discussion so far been about plants, but she had noticed that the book on the table was a Bible. Anna reached out and picked up the Bible. She opened it to the very beginning. Gather close, children. The children scooted in. Clare, she said in a strong teacher voice, please read for us Genesis chapter 1, verses 11 and 12. The children looked at each other perplexed. Lily pushed the plain black book closer to Clare. Clare cleared her throat and read, Then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it according to their various kinds. And it was so. The land produced vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruits with the seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. She stopped reading and looked up. Well, said Anna, looking from face to face, I think there might be some words in this passage that you don't know. Yes? Dante looked eagerly at the older girls. They were nodding their heads. He joined in. Vegetation, Clare asked. It sounds sort of like that vegetable word you told me about that time. Yes, replied Anna. Very good. Vegetable. She pronounced correctly. Let me start over. Yes, replied Anna. Very good. Vegetable, she pronounced correctly, and vegetation are word relatives. In this case, vegetation means all kinds of plants and trees. What else? Fruit, Lily offered. She was thinking of the discussion she'd had some days before with Clare. This was one of the words that had come up. Ah, yes, fruit, Anna said. Well? She looked at them sternly. Take out a piece of paper. They snapped to it and bustled into their bags for paper and pencils. You may draw pictures, she said to Dante. Fruit is another part of the plant. She paused while the girls scribbled down what she had said. Let's all draw a picture. Anna drew a plant, labeling the parts. It was something the older girls had done in school. Fruit, Anna explained as she added a large blob to her drawing. This is the part of the plant people nowadays have forgotten about. Lily's forehead wrinkled. No one ever mentioned that before, she said. I've never seen a fruit on a plant, Dante added. After the children added fruit to their plant pictures, Anna asked Lily to read the Bible verses Clare had read earlier. Afterward, she asked them what was inside of the fruit. Seeds, Dante hollered so loud the three females shushed him at once. The children felt as if they had discovered something significant. Seeds came from fruit, which came from plants. Even though they couldn't remember having seen anything like a fruit, they all knew about plants. Plenty of bushes and trees grew in the city, or at least on the outer edges of the city. But they still were not sure what any of this had to do with food. Clare was finally brave enough to pose the question. So what's this got to do with food? Anna looked at her blankly. Clare tried again. Maybe the old woman hadn't heard her. What does seeds coming from fruit and plants have to do with food? Anna faltered. What do plants have to do with food? She repeated. Yeah, the three children said, nodding. Oh dear, Anna said, speaking only to herself. It's worse than I thought. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for listening.